The more people, more families that we have come to the conference, the more information we have to put into this report. And the more information that we have to put into this report, the more beneficial future clinical trials can potentially be. Historically, in the drug development process and bringing treatments to clinical trial, the majority of them have been clinician led, relying on the expertise of researchers and doctors that are familiar with some of these conditions that we are trying to treat to provide insight on the clinical trial design. What it did not take into account was the impact of the disease on the patient and what was necessary to specifically improve quality of life on the patient. Externally led patient focused drug development is referring to the fact that when the FDA first started doing these types of initiatives, they were simply called patient focused drug development meetings or whatever they were, because the FDA were the ones that were running. They were the ones that were conducting the listening sessions, conducting the meeting. What the FDA quickly learned is A, they don't have the bandwidth to try to do this for all of these diseases, and B, the patient advocacy groups probably have a little bit better insight on the types of questions that would be appropriate for these particular groups of people. So instead of it being a FDA-led patient-focused drug development initiative, it's now an externally led patient-focused drug development initiative where, the groups that are experts on these diseases are the ones that are actually running the meetings with the blessing and in collaboration with the FDA. This externally led patient-focused drug development initiative that the GFPD is involved in, even though we are not at a point that where we have new treatments available right now, we know that there are new treatments on the horizon. There's a lot of work being done by members of the GFPD medical and scientific community that are really trying to work towards bringing new treatments to fruition. What this EL-PFDD initiative does for the GFPD is make it so that when these treatments are ready to be brought to clinical trial, we have a blueprint ready in the form of a report that summarizes all of this information that we gathered during the EL-PFDD meeting and all of the preliminary listening sessions before, as well as the surveys, that serves as a foundation, a framework, a blueprint for how a future clinical trial for peroxisomal disorders should be conducted. And so having this information, what that may do is really shorten the amount of time from drug discovery to bringing a viable treatment to market that has meaningful outcomes for patients affected by peroxisomal disorders. There are multiple stakeholders in the interest of bringing viable treatments to market for the peroxisomal disorder community. In those multiple stakeholders, whether it be researchers, doctors, patients, families, regulatory agencies, having a meeting like this will benefit all of them. Some in very similar ways, some in very different ways, but everyone that's there, that is a stakeholder in trying to find these treatments for individuals that are affected with peroxisomal disorders will benefit from attending this meeting. I spent the entire course of Alon's life feeling helpless and not able to do anything. And that was, for somebody that's like a type A person, it's almost as devastating as the diagnosis itself. Not being able to do anything is, I feel like that was one of the most devastating aspects of having to deal with this disease. And in being able to do something like this, being able to be a part of this EL-PFDD effort, it doesn't take away the fact that we had this really devastating experience, with this disease during Alon's life, but it helps.